Welcome to Build Out with Jim Kunkel, your go-to broadcast for learning more about business in the real world. Your host, Jim Kunkel, who is an accomplished professional in business development, sales, and marketing, and is a technical content creator along with being a rising influencer on LinkedIn. On Build Out, you'll get the latest information and knowledge from subject matter experts from across the globe. Okay, let's get this Build Out broadcast started. And here's your host, Jim Kunkel.
Welcome to Build Out. I'm Jim Kunkel. Joining me today is James Protin from the James Protin podcast. James, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Jim. It's great to see you again, my friend.
Yeah, it's great to have you on my broadcast. I was broadcasting with MJ Calloway, and that's how we became acquainted. Even though we do work in the same industry, we run around the same circles. You and I, we've known each other by name, but we've never really met each other. So it's great to have a friendly face and someone from my industry, your industry as well, come together and talk about influencers. And that's really the focus this month on Build Out, talking about industry influencers. And, before we go a little further in our conversation about not only you as an influencer in the industry, but also as a podcaster too, with a very successful podcast series, the James Protin podcast, could you provide your professional background for the viewers?
Sure, absolutely. I've been in the engineering and construction industry. This is my 40th year, actually, which is hard to believe because I'm such a young fella, how that's even possible. But I started out in the construction business right out of high school. I was a young high school graduate, didn't know really what I wanted to do. And but I knew I liked building stuff and doing stuff like that. So started out in construction and made a stop at PennDOT, as a draftsman, and just kind of, morphed into the consulting engineering side of things. And that's where I've been living for the past, about 37 years or so. Project management, building things. Started out in the transportation side of things with bridges and roads and such, and then gradually kind of found my way over to the other side of the public sector in municipal engineering, which water, wastewater, stormwater type services, which I found to be very fulfilling. Right, so I kind of found a home there, and but I've been doing business development in the industry for about the last 22 years or so. So I haven't really done any hands-on engineering or construction type work in a while, but it's been a great career. I've had the opportunity to meet thousands of just amazing people. And you know how this is, Jim, when, we get to work literally with the best and the brightest out there every day, and we're blessed by that because you can't help but become better by associating with those types of folks. So that's kind of, where I come from. I'm not a professional engineer by licensure or anything. I'm more of more by vocation than anything else. I've kind of worked my way up through the ranks and literally have done just about every job that you can do, from laborer in a ditch all the way up to I worked my way up to become vice president of business development for a major firm. So it's been an interesting career, journey, and one I wouldn't change for. I didn't pick it, right? But I actually did start to go to school to be a teacher, and that is career. And sometimes what's that old saying that sometimes you don't get what you wish for because you get what you're meant for, right? So and my career has been a testament to that.
Yeah, it's so true. Jim, before we get into talking about your podcast and talking about you as an influencer and what recommendations and advice you have for someone who's really thinking about getting involved in either podcasting or being an industry influencer, I wanted to give a shout out to this episode's sponsor, which is NordVPN. Jim, if you could hold on 1 second.
Stuck at home? Make the most of the internet with NordVPN. As you're trying out new apps to save you from boredom, NordVPN will make sure that your data is always protected. And you can still travel, well, virtually, by connecting to VPN servers in almost 60 countries. Up for a new gaming challenge? Make sure that cyber threats don't get in your way. Feeling curious? Access the news from all over the world firsthand. NordVPN. Online security starts with a click.
With NordVPN, you can get up to 63% discount off your initial 2-year plan by using the special link from Build Out. It's in the episode's description and also posted as a comment here on LinkedIn and other platforms that the broadcast is on right now. Jim, thank you for holding.
No problem.
Let's talk about the James Protin podcast. By the way, I'm a subscriber now to the podcast.
Appreciate that. Thank you. You and my mom.
So if you could go through a little bit about what I'd like to know is, the genesis of the podcast, the inspiration, let's say that, and then also what is the focus, and then what is the takeaway from the subscribers that watch your podcast?
Well, it kind of morphed from, I have been writing a blog for many years, and I've been doing a lot of inspirational, motivational speaking engagements, everything from young children, school age through high school, college age, as well as corporate, environments. And the podcast kind of morphed from that. It really combined both of those things that I really enjoy doing, writing and speaking, into one platform, right? And that allowed me to reach a broader audience. Okay, it's something obviously that some people look at as taking a giant step backwards, right? Because I built this network, and I was becoming kind of known regionally for speaking and writing. But when we started the podcast, we started from scratch, right? It was literally, Nick Altland, the young fellow that produces the show for me and does all of the technical. He videos it, he records and everything, he edits it. It was just he and I, and we really didn't have a following. We're starting to build that, and it takes some time. But we've now got 23 shows that we've published, and we have several more that have been recorded and are being edited. And now we're at a point where people are contacting us, reaching out to us to be on the show. So it kind of really morphed out of that daily blog that I write. I post it on Facebook, and a lot of times I'll share it to LinkedIn and Instagram as well. But primarily I post it on Facebook every morning, just as a good morning post, and it's developed a bit of a following, which I'm tremendously grateful for. You never really think that to do something when you're writing, in particular, writing is a very personal thing, right? Because you're literally reaching into your heart and pulling the words out. If you do it any other way, people will see through that, right? That's the biggest, I think, lesson for me was to always be transparent and speak and write from your heart, right? Because that's what people want to see and want to hear. So it all morphed out of that, and we didn't know how it would work. We didn't have any preconceived notions. We just started doing it. We had fun. MJ, our mutual friend, MJ was my first guest, and I reached out to her because, again, not knowing how it would turn out or how it go. I'm not a professional interviewer, right? So I kind of asked her to come on and support me because we're so close, and I knew we would have a great conversation regardless. And it turned out to be a tremendous show, and it really took on legs from there. So it's been a lot of fun. It really has.
It is a lot of fun, and I had, when podcasting really first surfaced, we're coming up on at least 20 years. Oh yeah, pretty close to 20 years of podcasting. And I remember 10 years ago, people saying, podcasting it's going to be a dinosaur really quick. It's not. It's alive and well, and actually thriving very well. And
it's here to stay. You're right. I agree.
Yeah, and now you have the blending of the video. Let's call it the video podcast, the webcast, like we're doing right now. You have audio podcasts, and a dream for me, for example, with Build Out or any of the type of series that I might do moving forward, I always wanted to make sure that if I can write and produce the video version of it so that I can take the audio and utilize that for an audio podcast. So take one broadcast and kind of break it out in different ways. Earlier, you mentioned about, being yourself, organic, in real life. That's really what the viewers and the subscribers and those individuals out there, professional, or if they're just general lay persons, they get a lot of value out of it because they do like to see real live people, not broadcast quality production. And I really enjoy, content creators like yourself who do content like that. So let's go ahead and let's talk a little bit about, advice and recommendations, based on your experience and your background that you would have for someone who might be thinking about getting involved in putting content out there.
Mhm. I think what I just said, dig into your heart, speak from your heart, write from your heart, and be transparent, because, people are very savvy these days around media, especially social media, and they'll see through it, and what is going to attract your audience to you more than anything else is your message, right? So stay true to yourself, establish that message, write it down, and stay true to it, stay true to yourself, and don't try to be anything that you're not. You don't have to go out and be Joe Rogan. You don't have to be this guy or that guy or this girl or that girl, because that's been done, right? So people want to hear Jim Kunkel's message. They want to hear my message. They want to hear what they want to know when they tune in every week, right? That they're going to see us delivering our message and telling a story, or our story or somebody else's, that fits within that message. So the key words for me would be, be transparent and stay true to who you are.
That's great advice. One of the main questions I always get is, what type of investment do I put into the content and the broadcast that I do? And the way I lay it out is, when I look at subscription services and platforms and devices and all that type of stuff, I'm probably spending no more than $600 a year. For a production like your podcast, do you have a massive $100,000 or $1 million budget, or are you more?
I wish I did, because then I wouldn't have my day job. But no, in all honesty, we had very little out of pocket expense. Now, really, all you need to have a successful podcast really is a smartphone, right? With technology today, we could shoot our show on a smartphone, edit it, and post it to social media, right? I was blessed to know Nick Altman, right? Nick is a tremendous young man. He has NFA Productions. He's a young fella, turns 20 this month, and he's a prodigy, right? I've worked with his mother in industry. She's a process engineer, and very, very intelligent. I've known her for 25 years. We've been friends. And really, she kind of prodded me to really turn the blog and all of the speaking that I do into the podcast. And when I talked to her about Nick and I sat down, the blessing I have is that Nick already had the equipment, right? He was already doing little things, video and things like that. So I knew I wanted to do a video show. I didn't want it to just be an audio podcast, because I'm a very visual person, right? I've never listened to the show. It's on Spotify, it's on Apple Podcasts. Really any place where anybody listens to podcasts, you can listen to it. I have never done that. I will go back and watch some of the parts of the shows on YouTube. And a lot of that is to learn so that we can become better, right? But I would be more apt, even the podcasts that I do watch, the Rogan podcast, for example, Rich Roll. I love the way he does things, but they're very visual, and it's a completely different dynamic listening to it without that visual piece. So, I kind of promote our YouTube simply because that's where I'm comfortable, and that's where I like to watch my podcasts and listen and tune in. So, but as far as we haven't had much at all. Obviously we don't pay anybody to appear on the show. We have not now. The 23. Well, we're up at we've published 23, but we're about 27. All have been people from my. I don't see us ever getting into a position where we will pay people to come on the show. We're really not. That's not what we're looking to do. We're doing this to share a message and to tell stories. We're storytellers. Neither one of us are looking to make a living from this. So we'll keep, much like yourself, I would love to have you come and do our show, because I think that what you're doing here with Build Out Livestream, you're telling stories, right? I've seen some of the people that you've had on. I've watched the show, and just what we're doing here is something that, hopefully somebody's watching this and they want to start a podcast, and they see that, listen, if these two knuckleheads can do it, I can do it, right? And there's really it doesn't cost a lot of money out of your pocket, because the technology today has advanced so far. I have 13, 14-year-old grandchildren who are so far ahead of me. I literally call them my teenage grandkids and ask them for help, on things that really, considering what I do for a living, I should actually be able to do, right? But kind of has a story to share, to get out there and do it. Even if you just get a gimbal and put it on your phone and start off doing Facebook Live or something like that, to get out there and get comfortable in front of the camera and just start to tell your story.
Yeah, I look forward to coming on to your broadcast, and if you would want to pay me, I'm open to that.
Well, you'd have to talk to Nick about that, because he has a lot more money than I do. I think we'd have a great conversation. I'd look forward to. We'll talk about that offline, but I look forward to having you on.
Oh, definitely, and this is where sponsors can really help out, because they do offset some of the expense when it comes to doing a broadcast and bringing quality content to viewers and subscribers.
Absolutely, and Jim, there are a lot of small businesses out there. If you're doing a regional, even a local show, there are a lot of small businesses out there that would love to have, for a few $100s a month, just to have some expense money, have a small, like maybe a 15 or 20 second lead into a show, right? Like what you just did for Nord. That's worth its weight in gold. I mean, so there are opportunities out there if you're looking to start a show, to get some sponsorship money in and kind of offset some basic expenses.
So when it comes to an influencer, how important and then what ways impactful is a podcast?
I think a podcast is incredibly important because of the platform that it gives you as an influencer. When you talk about influence, you're talking about leadership, and when the next step from that basically is character and integrity, right? If you want to influence others, you've got to be honest with yourself. You've got to show up transparent and raw and messy and all those things. You got to be you, right? That's what people respond to. Okay. And the podcast platform as a tool for an influencer is basically priceless, right? Because, this thing that we call the internet, this wonderful thing, it is either the most amazing tool ever invented, or it is the most devastating weapon ever invented, simply by whose hands it's in, who's wielding that at that particular time. So as an influencer, you can positively impact the lives of countless people, right? Just one person, that's all it takes. You and I talking with each other and sharing stories and sharing our experiences, right? There might be one person, it might only be one person that's listening to this right now that's, what, I'm going to do this, and they're going to go out and do it. And then somebody's going to be inspired by them. That one person today, because of the technology and the platform of a podcast, could personally impact 1 million people, right? 20 years ago, this, that you would be laughing right now if I said that. But right now, today, you're shaking your head, you're nodding your head in agreement, because the technology has made the world a very, very small place, right? And so I think that podcasting, if you want to positively impact people's lives, if you want to make a difference, that's become a cliche. I want to make a difference in the world. People will just, a lot of people hear that, they roll their eyes, and it's like, oh, yeah, right. What are you going to do? You're just one person. Well, one person can make a difference in the world because of what we're doing right now.
Yeah, I so agree with you. And it also, too, it motivates you, it drives you. I have a lot of, direct messages that I get and emails that I get and responses I get. And people say, listen, I like what you're doing. I really find value in it. Or, hey, could you talk about this topic? Or, hey, you had done content on this particular topic and it really helped me out in a situation I was in. And that could be anything from a technical topic to, just talking about business concept or, even the conversation we're having right now.
Right.
For me, I utilize a platform, LinkedIn and other platforms, and this broadcast and other broadcasts to build myself as an influencer. I don't really call myself an influencer. I've had people say that I am.
Sure.
I still think I'm rising. I still have a lot more opportunity to grow and expand as an influencer. And that's not a bad position to be in. The other thing I think too, that I always say, you have to really have passion to want to do this. And it's about not ego, doing it for yourself. It's about, I'm a golden rule person. I like to do unto others as I want them to do unto me. So, and I'm a sociable person. You know that. You're a business development person yourself, very sociable. And I like the conversations. I like the engagement. And so that's what really drives me. And then the other aspect too, people, they have some appreciation, obviously. They enjoy what I do, even though I'm human and I have flaws. I'm not a perfect broadcaster. But back to the point we were talking earlier about being yourself. I think that's what helps me connect with my viewers, my followers, and subscribers. Yeah.
I think you're right, because, none of us is perfect. And it becomes very obvious when we're trying to be, because then you're trying to become something you're not, right? And when we accept and embrace the flaws that we've been blessed with, and flaws are blessings too, right? So it doesn't matter, who you are, what you're doing. There's always another day, right? There's always, as long as you wake up in the morning, and you should wake up with a smile on your face and a grateful heart, right? Because what's better than being blessed with another day, okay? But as long as you're here, as long as you're in the game, you can literally be anything that you want to be. You can do anything that you put your mind to. As long as you are right here and you're breathing, you're taking another breath, you're in the game and you have an opportunity, right? So be anything that you want to be, but just be yourself. Be true to who you are. Be honest and transparent. And that's, I love that you said conversation, right? What is out there that would come between people? All the things that, when you think about, Jim, think about all the things that divide us, right? Every single one of them can be solved, can be resolved with honest, open, and respectful conversation, right? So I think that, the more that we talk to each other, the more that we share our stories and our experiences, the better we're all going to be, because that's how we're going to connect. That's how we're going to connect the dots between people and people of all different kinds. So I have a young man that I met through doing the podcast, Corey Ochai, and Corey is starting a podcast of his own, right? And he's somebody that you should have on the show, because he has a story that just blew me away, and he's a young man who has overcome extreme adversity, and he's learned, and he's wise far beyond his years. And he's now sharing that story with others in the podcasting platform. He's brand new. He's getting ready to launch his first show, and he's a tremendous young man. I'm a huge fan. So I will be tuning in, and I would encourage everybody that possible that can hear my voice to take a look at this young man and listen to what he has to say. Much like yourself, it's. And I hope that I have something of value to share with people. And I've had I'm 62 years old. I've been through a lot. I have children and grandchildren, and I've been a son, a father, a brother, all of these different things. And it's been a journey that has taught me a lot, right? Some of the lessons stung a bit. Some of them left a mark, but I appreciate every single one of them because I'm the man I am today because of them. So that's how we learn, my friend. That's how we learn.
Yeah, it's nothing, you can't replace time, wisdom, and experience. It just seems to be so impactful for you as you grow older, and then also too as you work with the younger generation to share that knowledge that you've acquired over your lifetime. Right. James, what a great conversation we've had this afternoon. Before we close out this broadcast, is there anything that we did not cover that you would want to leave with the viewers regarding the topic we covered?
I think if anything if there's any takeaway that I would like to see from this conversation and just about everything that I do, it's that, we all matter, right? We're all doing something that matters in the big picture, and we all have a story to tell, and we should confidently and tell that story. We don't need to shout, right? Because we all have a voice, and podcasting and social media helps us to amplify that voice so that we can get our message out and I don't know if you invited the Fly to the show, but he's really interested in what we have to say. So buzzing around. But anyway, so that would be my hope is that people would take away that it's okay to be yourself. It's okay to be messy and it's okay to stumble and fall as long as you stand up. Dust yourself off and stand up and keep going. That's the key. That is the key. Be yourself. Follow your dreams.
Very good. Very good. Great final thoughts. James, how can social media, how can people follow you? And then regarding the podcast, how can they subscribe to the podcast?
All you have to do really is on YouTube, search James Protin Podcast. It'll pop up. Hit that little bell and subscribe. And all of the episodes, the shows that we've done so far are there. You take a look at them, see if it's something that floats your boat, that resonates with you. We have a little bit of something for everyone so far. We've had a very eclectic group of guests, and collectively, and we're continue to kind of step out of the box to kind of bring as the most interesting stories that we possibly can. So, James Protin Podcast on YouTube. I'm James Protin on Facebook, Instagram, and here on LinkedIn. Please reach out and connect. I'm more than happy. Like I said, I'm a storyteller at heart, so I want to get to know people and reach out and tell me your story. Let's talk. And if anybody has interest in being on the podcast and telling their story, I'd love to do that too. We're not trying to get celebrities. We want ordinary people doing extraordinary things. That's what we're looking for.
That's a great way to have a podcast and also give back to the various communities that would subscribe and listen to your podcast. James, it's been wonderful having you on my broadcast, you and the Fly, and I appreciate it. Have a good rest of your day, and everyone, will see you next Wednesday at noon Eastern.
I hope you found value with today's Build Out broadcast. Make sure you connect with Jim on LinkedIn and subscribe to his YouTube channel. This way you'll be notified on new live streams and when new content is released. Please give today's broadcast a like and share with your connections and colleagues. Thanks for watching, and please visit buildoutproductions.com for additional content and to join the mailing list so you can keep updated on other streams and quality content from the creators on the Build Out Productions team.